Hey everyone, today we are looking at some endgame scenarios in Ark Nova. This video or stream is inspired by a game that I played on Wednesday that was 100% winnable if I'd made the right endgame moves. It's really hard to tell at the time though because you don't know what endgame your opponent has, you don't know what moves they're going to do, although you can predict it with enough time. And it was quite a complex decision, so we're gonna break down this endgame scenario, and I got a few others. I don't think it'll be a particularly long stream, but if anyone does have some games they want shown or they think are interesting, feel free to either link or post the table number in the chat here, or just message me on BGA and I'll have a look. Hello Harp Attack, hello Atar. So this first game against Thuni, hello Bolt. This first game against Suni was game 4 on the Wednesday stream, and it is our turn. The break has just happened. Sorry, we caused the break, and the opponents played animals straight after the break. Yeah, there we go. Hello, Bob. And we have we're 18 points down, but we have really good animals to play. If we have a look at the endgame situation, our opponent has 0 endgame showing. We have vet, hydrologists. Our endgame is conservation zoo for 2. So the natural move that I first thought of was what we'd been planning all along. We have Big Nose to play, which is worth a lot of points. We can play it thanks to Wild's a large animal program. It's playable. We can ignore the second monkey requirement. And P-Fowl, which is just also a lot of points. We have a 3 size and a 5 size open. And if we look at what the opponent's going to do, they've just played animals, so now they're basically threatening to end in 1 turn. They have 5 X tokens, so they have 3 reptiles plus this Joker tile, so they can do 4 reptiles as a project, which is a lot of points. They can donate. They also have enough X tokens to grab 2 reputation, which is another 2 points. So at minimum, they're going to be finishing on... Okay, they can't get Last Worker here. Yeah, with the donation, they get 5 CP for the project plus donation and 2 for the rep. So they're going to be finishing on a minimum 111 points. Hello Osmo, hello Blackwell. Okay, so let's calculate the Big Nose plus P-Fowl line. So Big Nose itself is plus 16. Pretty good. That gets us to 92. P-Fowl is another 7, so that gets us to 99. If we were to build 2 pavilions with the P-Fowl, we could finish on 101, but it doesn't really make sense to end the game when we can do the project that we get from the Big Nose, 2 primates. That's going to be a 3 CP 3 CP move for us, basically, because of our endgame as well. And our opponent's probably just going to cross next move anyway, so... Yeah, exactly. Bob sees it. If we build pavilions, we could end this move, but if we choose to build kiosks, we get another move where we can do our project, which is what I was thinking. So we'd get 99. Let's say our opponent just crosses, they get to 111. And then we do our project. We finish on 105, but we have 3 CPN game plus 2 showing. It should be kind of close. But there's also another interesting line. We have a rhino here that's on the display. But we have a problem being our opponent is threatening to end in 1 turn. So if we want to get the rhino, we have to spend 2 X tokens on animals. Then we can play it from range. Money's not really an issue. But then we're not left with enough X tokens to do our project. We need 1 more X token. We have vet, so we only need 4 strength. But we need 1 more X token that we don't have. Which we can get from playing the Kawadi. It gives an X token. So another interesting line is, do we want to spend 2 X's and play the Rhino and the Kawadi as our 2 final animals, and then do the Species 5 or Habitats 5 as a project next round, next move? So if we're adding all those points up... I don't know if I want to draw. I'm not that quick at drawing, but... We said Big Nose is 16, P-Fowl is 7, so that's 23. Plus 2 primates as a project is 9, so that's 32 points for these 2. And then these two, we have the Rhino's 9, the Kawadi is 4, so that's 13. Plus we have a 5 CP project, that's 28, plus the endgame for conservation, so that's 31 points for these two. So on paper, Big Nose and Peafowl is giving us more points, which is intuitively what I thought at the time, but I missed a pretty important concept, which is playing Big Nose and Peafowl puts us on 99 points, which means we have no options for delaying moves. So, I mean, we can look at how it plays out. We play Big Nose Peafowl. We do have to build the 2 kiosks to not cross, because our delaying move is pretty good. Could also argue that like we should do the Peafowl first and drop a card. I think there's really nothing we could hit that's going to be better than Big Nose. Maybe an Eagle, but even then we don't have a project to do, I don't think. And the opponent's in this position now, 94 points, but they very correctly identified that they have no reason to end the game here because we're on 99 points and we have nothing else that we can do. Let's look at the delaying moves for the opponent. Firstly, any single move is giving them some extra points because instead of 2 reputation, they can get association to 3 and they can grab last partner zoo. That gives them 1 CP for the worker instead of 2 points for the reputation. So that's 1 point better anyway. But they have a beautiful delaying move of playing Expert on Australia from range, which gives them 4 instant points. But it also moves their Assos up to 3, meaning they can also grab Australia Partner Zoo as their last Partner Zoo, get the last worker, and also pouch a card thanks to Expert. So it's basically like a plus 7 point move. And what can we do in this scenario? Yeah, franchise business was an option I considered at the time. We can play it, but then we also need another move to build another kiosk in order for it to score its endgame points, which is not guaranteed to happen. So it's basically like a move that's giving us 0 points, but potentially 3 points at the end. Our best move at this stage is drawing cards, just trying to hit a better project. But the thing is, if we're gone for the Kawadi plus Rhino line, we have a beautiful delaying move of Guerrilla Field Research, which is a 6 point move. It gets us the rep from the CP from 14 rep, and it gives the CP by itself. So imagining a world where we have the Kawadi and Rhino played, we'd be able to play the Guerrilla Field Research, still be on way less than 99 points, and that would be a perfectly fine delaying move. It would match their delaying move of Expert on Australia. Instead, our best move is drawing cards, which, quite funnily, we do actually hit a good delaying move card, Federal Grants. We could play that to get an extra endgame shield, which will not contribute to our current score and make us cross. Our opponent could delay at this point, but it's just in their best interest to end the game. Their delaying move would most likely be single Pavilion, which is only 1 point. So they just end the game. Hello, Andreas. They get their last worker from Australia Partner Zoo. They pouch as well. They do the Reptiles project, which we knew was going to happen. They finish on 118. And then we have our final move of Primates Project, which is not great, but our endgames are 3 CP plus 2 showing, and they still have no endgame showing. So going into endgame scoring, they have a 1 CP sponsored zoo, and they win by 1 point. So it actually goes to show, if we'd gone Rhino Kawadi, it's just 100% winnable. It's actually a guaranteed win if we know that their endgame is a 1 CP endgame. Because as we said, it's just 1 point worse overall than the Big Nose Peafowl combo, but then we get a +5 delaying move instead of doing cards, which gave us nothing. So we'd be finishing on 125 to 121. Even if they had a 2 CP endgame, we would have won that scenario. So it's an interesting concept about, I guess, with the two lines being very similar amount of points, not front loading all your points, but saving your point bomb for the last move. It's kind of a unique scenario where I haven't really encountered it too often, but it's definitely one that I'm going to take into account from now on. I think it's worth showing, so that's what inspired this stream. And yeah, if I just play that better, that's just it's a win. It's a guaranteed win. Because even if the opponent ends and they don't delay with the Expert on Australia move, we still win because they finish on 114, I think we say. And we finish on the same score. We just don't do the cards move. Yeah, sorry, we finish on 119, I think. Yeah. Yeah, I can write it on a notepad, but it's still a lot of maths. I think the other examples are a bit more straightforward to follow. And this is also something that you have to calculate in a very short amount of time. That's why I enjoy playing on fast speed, because intuitively I could calculate that Big Nose and P-Foul was a better combination of points, but I didn't consider the whole scenario of the opponent having a beautiful delaying move. Yeah, exactly, all this in time. So if this was a turn-based game, you could for sure calculate all this very easily, but when you have to consider your clock, it's hard to calculate all that in time. The second scenario is much, much easier. This is a very straightforward one that is more of a misunderstanding of the rules from our player, Moi SP. So this is the JD special. We have a 2-size gap, we have 2-size reward. This is a scenario where you just 100% of the time you have absolutely caused the break. You cause the break, you fill the map during the break, and then you get to have another move. Because if a player crosses during the break, then both players get an additional move. But our protagonist does not know this, so they spend their final action here, filling map just manually with 2 pavilions, which does cross them. However, it's extremely dangerous because the opponent is sitting on 96 points, which is they're already going to cross this move anyway. And they have an open 5-size and a 2-size touching the observation tower. And we also know what the opponent has from public knowledge of this game previously by following what they've snapped. They have an American Bison for $12, which gives them 12 points, and they also have a Wombat, which gives them another 8 points. So they actually finished this game on 116, which is way ahead of us. Whereas if we cause the break, we get 2 less points for the pavilions, but we still get to fill the map and then play an additional animals action, which is at least 14 points. We have room for the tortoise and rock monitor, but chances are we get a better animal during the break, like the rock python is playable here. And yeah, it's 100% better to have an animals action after the break. Thankfully for Moi SP, the endgames were good enough. There's excavation site endgame, archaeologist, hydrologist, talented communicator. There's a lot of endgames on the board here, and a 3 CP large animal zoo. So turned out to be a win anyway. The opponent only had a 1 CP endgame, but if they had a better endgame, like probably they hit small animals for maxed out, or maybe that's about it. Maybe diverse species they have maxed out as well. Yeah, they do. They have diverse species. They have small animals. They would get 4 CP and they'd tie on tiebreakers. So yeah, this is a scenario where you just want to cause the break and cross during the break. Pretty straightforward to see for experienced players. JD likes to do it a lot. Game number 3 is a game where I got completely bailed in Arena. I actually won from this. Sorry, we're looking at this from the opponent's perspective. But I managed to win from this scenario. It should not be possible. So the current state of the game is the break is on 0 out of 9. I have 2 money, 1 card in hand, no workers. In terms of endgames, I have none showing. I have 0 endgames showing. But the thing is, I do have 2 elephant endgames, so that is the unknown for the opponent in this position. Our opponent, haha 242, has small animal zoo for 0. But they also have good endgame showing. They have excavation site, federal grants. If they play the Tarsier, they hit Baboon Rock as well. And if they play the Tarsier, they also hit small animal zoo for 1 CP. So what would be the best move for the opponent in this position? They really have all the time in the world because I'm in no position where I can cause the break. I can't break for at least 3 more moves. Even then, it might be 4 moves until I can break. So the opponent can just do really whatever they want for the next few moves. The first move that came to mind was Reconstruction. Really strong move considering they have 2 1-size gaps in their zoo. And this gives a 5 appeal endgame for covering your zoo. So this alone is a 13-point card. And they have sponsors at 5 upgraded, so they can just play Reconstruction as a 13-point move straight up. Instead, they get extremely greedy. And yeah, by the way, this is a situation where you just 100% end the game before a break happens. Because if you cause the break and give your opponent money or time to do a project, then they can potentially come back. But you can kind of see what their idea was. They actually break 5 here, which is a game-losing move. Well, sorry, even this is not a game-losing move, but what they want is money to play the Tarsier and the Dugong. And yeah, like we said, the Tarsier is very important for them. It gives them Baboon Rock endgame, Small Animal Zoo endgame, and it also gets them the 14th rep CP. So, I mean, understandable that they want to play it. I really don't have much choice. I just do cards. And the opponent makes this mistake of playing the Tarsier and crossing before the break happens. Which is, yeah, a complete gift from me. It would have been better for them to just play the Dugong and just cross. They would have actually been better not playing the Tarsier at all, funnily enough. They could have also played the Dugong first and tried to dig into a second playable animal. They choose not to dig anything, which, I mean, it doesn't matter at this point because they've just caused the break. And now what happens is they ended the game before a break, so now the break happens and I get an extra move after the break. Which is completely dangerous because firstly, from the map, we have the marketing spot open, so we can just play a sponsor. 2 sides over the marketing to play the water playground, which is 4 points. We're going to add up all the points we get from this. Four points. Plus, we can play the tortoise from range now, which is another 9 points. £10 if you include the trade for 2 money for 1 appeal, so that's 14 points so far. And then also a seahorse, which is with the pouching 4 points by itself, with the trade for money for appeal 5 points, plus also the endgame on Quarantine Lab. So this endgame allowing us to have another move after the break has given us, I think, about 22 points. We finish on 0 cards, 0 money, so... Oh, even more because we get to kill the expert on Americas thanks to the Marine Research Expedition sponsor. So it's given us like 25 points roughly. And it's a game that we ended up winning by 11 points. So yeah, the opponent would have actually won if they did not play the Tarsier and they just crossed with the Dugong. And they certainly would have won by a whole lot more if they'd played Reconstruction and then just played Dugong. They would have won by about 20 or 30 points, probably. Having said that, our games were pretty good. Research Zoo and Conservation Zoo for 7 CP total. But this was a gift. This was a situation where you just have to do everything you can to end before a break happens, because your opponent is no threat to get any more points for the rest of the round. So, I mean, I kind of positioned myself badly from that in terms of gameplay there, because I put myself in a vulnerable position where I should have lost. This was an interesting game that Howell showed me just before the stream. It looks a little bit dire. You can see the break's on 2 out of 9. The opponent's on 90 points, so they're not really threatening to end the game this round because they only have 2 money. They don't have any workers, so they can't do a project. Maybe the best thing they could have is a sponsor. Like, I guess if they played a geologist here, they could get to 99, but I don't think there's any sponsor that would actually allow them to cross in one move. And yeah, things are not too bad from this perspective. We have a Cobra, which is pretty important here. Boa Constrictor is just a playable animal after the break. So the natural move that I think a lot of people might do is just break 7 here and just go into next round, go bam, Cobra, Boa Constrictor, Hypno their association and do Species 5, which is a great project to finish with. But I think Howell makes a great move, which is to just realize the opponent is not threatening to end and just delay 1 move by Xing back build. This does a few things. So the idea behind this is that firstly, well, hopefully the opponent actually helps us break and we can save our X tokens. But what it's also doing is lining it up so that after the break happens, the opponent's association is going to be on strength 3. And if we have enough X tokens, we can potentially grab Final Partner Zoo to go with our project for a 7 CP endgame association action after the hypnosis. Given how much of a point deficit it is, I think this is a pretty smart line to go for. You can see that the opponent does indeed just help us break 4. And we just cause the break. Can even play the victory column during the break. Which is just going to be a couple of extra points. More than a couple of extra points. There's also an in-game point, so that's like a 4 appeal move. And the opponent doesn't really find anything useful for them. If you're in the opponent's position, should you end here? I would say the answer is probably yes, if you don't know what's in Howell's hand. Given that you have a 19-point lead, it seems reasonable enough to just end in 1 move. It also looks like they don't really have any projects left to do. Yeah, they only have small reptiles, so they can't release any reptiles. They don't have any base projects left to do. Hello, Glitter. Hello, Frankly Ben. I mean, I will eventually cover WSBG when the videos come out, when they send them to me afterwards, but as far as I know, they don't live stream them. So I don't really have anything to commentate over. But yeah, normally after the fact, I get the videos and we'll do a commentary on the Ark Nova games at least. Opponent's just ending with final animals action of the Miraquee, which is not a fantastic animal to finish with. I mean, it's great for their Baboon Rock. I mean, looking at endgames, there is Baboon Rock here for 1 CP showing. And Howard doesn't actually have any. I mean, there is Victory Column now, but there's actually no points from Communicator or Federal Grants. Or the Favorite Zoo endgame is only 1 CP as well. And yeah, they did not find a second playable animal. They hit a free-range monkeys from their Monkey Gang ability, and that is it. And then we have this beautiful move of Cobra plus Boa Constrictor. Basically, two of the best animals you could play, given that there are only two sizes available. Into Association 8 to grab Last Partner Zoo and Species plus Donation. Which is barely enough, given that the opponent has catered picnic areas. And yeah, we only have the 1 CP for Favorite Zoo. So it was just a slight victory with victory column coming in clutch at the end as well. Although it would have been a tiebreaker win anyway. So I think there's a couple of interesting notes on this. Firstly, well, the opponent had a lot of good delaying moves to do. They did not need to help with the break at all. I think in the opponent's position, where they can see that Howard has nothing to do that round, you absolutely do not want to contribute to the break. But I think some interesting delaying moves, especially with an upgraded build over Rock Water, and since we know their endgame is catered picnic areas, what they can do is just single build Kiosk and Pavilion over a Rock or Water space, just 5 actions in a row if they wanted to. They had 2 money, it cost 2 money. You get the money back when you cover a rock or water space. So they could just do build single kiosk, end turn. Next move, build single pavilion, end turn. That would be 100 times better than what they were doing with breaking 4 for seemingly no reason. Yeah, if I was in that position, I would have always done that. I'm not sure I'd be in a position where I have build over rock water and catered picnic areas, but that's a different story. Yeah, or at the very least, do cards and find a second playable animal. I think breaking 4 was a huge mistake. Then also from Howard's position, there was a slightly better line. We know Last Partner Zoo is worth 2 CP, but there was also a better line to just get to 9 reputation, because that is a lot of points for us getting to 9 reputation. So we have some ideas of grabbing the last university, the Science 2 Reputation Uni, as 1 delaying move before we cause the break. And then just spending some X tokens on animals at 5 to get to 9 rep gives us the CP from Talented Communicator, Federal Grants, and a second one from Favorite Zoo. And a CP from last uni, so in the end that would have worked out about 2 CP better. And also a bit less risky, I think, because you're not relying on your opponent to line up Association at 3 with you having 5 X tokens. Even if the opponent uses Association and puts it back to 1, then we probably still have enough X tokens to be able to just do the project anyway. So yeah, I think that was an interesting one. But yeah, the opponent definitely had a miss with not playing around build over rock water and catered picnic areas. And final game of the day, or final scenario that we're going to look at. Yeah, it is going to be a very short stream, but that's fine. It's an awkward position here. So the break is on 7 out of 9. The break is definitely in range. We have a pretty big point deficit. But we do have some good animals in hand. I think we have some decent endgames. If we look at the endgames, so we have Aquatic Park, which is basically going to be maxed out, thanks to the African Penguin. We have Aquarium, which is maxed out already, so I mean, 1 CP for that. Expert on Africa, we have a couple of X tokens lying around. Diversity Researcher, the Penguin's going to give us another 2 points, so 4 appeal from that. And our opponent really has no endgame showing. They have nothing from Tech Institute. They have only 1 donation, so not even a conference on Europe endgame. But they are certainly looking to cross in 1 move. They have 2 cards in hand and 35 money, and enough empty enclosures, so they can certainly cross in 1 move. And the other interesting scenario is that they've already spent their extra action, and we have not. So it is definitely in their best interest to end before a break happens. Because if a break happens, we get to do a project and then animals, whereas they're just doing animals to finish. So you might be wondering, should we cause the break this move? And the answer to that is actually no, because we don't have a project to do after the break if we were to cause the break this move. We're one icon short on Africa 4. Sorry, that's a complete lie. We could do 2 Americas. We could absolutely do 2 Americas. But I decide that even though the opponent might be ending, it's still in our best interest to play animals and then try to cause the break. Hopefully the opponent can't end in one move. We do get a lot of points from this action, which kind of bridges the gap. Because we're playing 2 birds, which contributes from Penguin Pool. We also get the 11th rep CP. We also get the water icon from the Penguin. We get a chance at a better endgame. Not that there is any better endgame. So Designer Zoo is actually safer to keep because we might release a water animal. Yeah, and we just get a Sos at 5 ready to go. An opponent does just finish with 1 move. They play Snub-Nosed Monkey, which is fine. I mean, it's a decent animal to finish with. I could have given them a card for sure. I just didn't want to give them the Snowy Owl, as they have a 1-size enclosure and the bird icons already. And it would have made them cross 100%, so I was kind of hoping they didn't have a second playable animal, but they do. They have the Tamarin, which is a very good animal to finish with, and they had enough money to play it anyway, so... And the final situation is 104 to 84, and we don't really have many moves left. So yeah, we don't have any workers. Causing the break does nothing because they've already ended the game. We can X something back, which gives us an X token for expert on Africa. We can build a pavilion, which is 1 point. No sponsor to play. We don't have breeding program endgame. We do have 1 move of building a kiosk for expert on America's endgame, which I'm really glad I saw after a bit of thinking about it. And it turns out it's a very important kiosk to build because we ended up winning by 1 point thanks to the opponent having a sponsor zoo endgame for 1 CP. Just thanks to the single kiosk build. But it was a good decision from the opponent. The opponent realized they had to end before the break, before we could use the extra action. I think instead of the extra action, I actually decided to take 12 money, hoping to be able to play my animals and then cause a break and then use the extra action. That is something I was going to point out as well. How beautiful is this map, by the way? Sadly, we did have to fill in a 1-size gap at the end, but otherwise... Look at all the 1-size gaps. It's a work of art. But yes, I could have caused the break. Causing the break would have actually worked out better if we'd just done 2 Americas and then extra action into animals. Also a bit of risk because the opponent... I guess there's not too much risk. I think it was actually stupid of me to not cause the break, but that was a poor decision. Maybe I just forgot that we had 2 Americas to do as a project. So I think that's something I definitely could have done better, just causing the break, guaranteeing that we can do project into animals. Project plus donation into animals, like it's a pretty big difference actually. And that's it. So, I mean, hopefully these endgame scenarios have given you some ideas of when it's good to cause the break, when it's good to finish the game. There is quite a bit of math involved. So it can be... I mean, it's just a lot of complex scenarios that even I get wrong as a very experienced player, so... There's a lot of nuance to it, but hopefully you guys get some ideas and can apply this to your own games. And yeah, the offer still stands. I mean, if anyone has any games where they're unsure of what they were supposed to do, You can message me them on BGA and I'll have a look and try to give my thoughts on the scenarios. Otherwise, thanks all for watching. Yeah, short stream, but that's fine. We'll see you guys on Sunday for the BGA gameplay, and good luck to everyone at WSBG this year. Yeah, that is starting today, I'm pretty sure. I think Ark Nova is on day 4. So I'll be very interested in that. And yeah, I mean, if it is live streamed, I would love to sort of commentate over it, but the previous 2 years, I know it hasn't been. But yeah, I'll keep an eye out for that anyway. But yeah, have a good rest of the day, everyone. Good night.